cage, she made this weird, whiny growl noise that I've never really heard her make before, and continued to pant as though she had just come in from outside. My phone screen dimmed, and I jumped a little at the sudden darkness. No matter how hard I tried, I was unable to get the screen to show any light. I couldn't help but shiver as my dog's panting got a little more intense, and I heard her shuffle around in her cage. That's enough of this, I thought, and went to my friend list to see what was going on with this person who had Lydia's old phone number. Whoever they were, they had already posted a story or two. The small circle next to the name Lydia was black, and I could see some text there. Without knowing why, I tapped it. The first story was a video of what looked like a parking lot. It was hard to tell because the phone was moving so much, but I could see the yellow lines of a parking spot. The camera started to slow down a little bit, and I could see what looked like dark red marks on the floor. My blood froze in my veins as I realized I was looking at the blood-stained parking lot of Lydia's apartment complex. There was a second of pause as the story reached its time limit and moved on to the next portion, still recording the yellow lines and red stains. My dog was frantic at this point. She ran from her cage and started scratching at the door, no longer wanting to be in there. There was no way I was getting up to let her out. I'm not even sure I could do nothing but grasp my phone with both hands. She jumped on the bed and whimpered at me, and then ran back in her cage to cower. The next story started. It was a bright white screen that hurt my eyes after being in the dark for so long. The camera moved back a little, and I saw the white fur of a teddy bear holding a giant red heart that said, "Life without you is unbearable." It was only on screen long enough to barely make out what it said, but I recognized it right away from the trial. It was the bear Lucas gave Lydia on the night he killed her. My screen went black again as the next story started, but only for a second or two. It lit up again, and this time I saw a large sunflower, the same one Lucas had gotten for her. I felt a tear escape my eye and seemed to exhale for the first time for what felt like hours. I had been holding my breath. I was suddenly aware of how cold the room was. My eyes moved frantically fast in their sockets as I looked at every detail of the sunflower. The story had been going for a while now, as it was just a video of the same sunflower filmed over what was probably 2 minutes. I was captivated and couldn't take my eyes off the screen. Even blinking felt like a betrayal. Finally, the story ended, and my screen went black. I heard myself whimper in relief. The next screen was what I saw in the thumbnail before I tapped on it. It was a solid black screen with white text that consisted of only 3 words. He got out. I threw my phone out of my hands and ran out of my room. I could feel the hot bile in the back of my throat and tried to make it to the bathroom before it erupted out of my mouth. I didn't make it to the toilet and instead retched in my bathroom sink. Red vomit stained my sink, and I jumped as I heard my dog begin to furiously bark. I crouched over my sink and tried to stop throwing up. When I glanced at my reflection, dimly lit from the small nightlight I keep in my bathroom, I could tell my eyes were bloodshot from the effort of pushing out the bile. I felt a wave of coldness waft through the bathroom, and the vomit suddenly stopped. A couple of coughs and some mouthwash, and I realized the coldness of the room was gone. My dog was still barking. I called for her to be quiet, and she whimpered, and I heard her cage rattle as she found her way back inside of it. It took me a while to work up the courage to go back to my room, but my logical mind prevailed, and I came to the conclusion that someone must be pranking me. When I got back to my room, my phone was face up on the floor, still lit. The same story was on there, a black screen with 3 little words. As I stared down at it, the story changed to a black screen with 2 new words, "Warn George."